Jerry called me because of the situation that he was having with Suge Knight.
The Ruthless Records versus Death Row situation got really bad at times. The beef that started out over Dr. Dre leaving Eazy-E's Ruthless eventually ended up spilling out into the streets. And sometime the streets showed up at the office buildings.
Jerry's known me from the 80s. I used to own a clothing manufacturing facility, and he had his offices across the way from me. And he knew some of my employees, and I got to meet him in the 80s. And he called me, said he had an issue, told me what the issue is, asked if I could help. I said I can. I said if I do help, they have to listen to me and do as I say. I don't listen to anybody or I don't take orders. If they want to do it, they have to do it my way. And both him and Eazy agreed. And that's when I came in to help them first secure the facilities and make sure that we had the proper security in-house. The security that you can see, and the security that you can't see. And that's the most important one, is that the one that you cannot see.
Suge Knight was the man everyone in the music industry feared around this time. He was infamous and well known for showing up at Ruthless Records offices many times to cause havoc. Jerry Heller, co-owner of Ruthless Records, got sick and tired of it, so he decided to take his security to another level when he hired Mike Klein. Mike was and still is a no-nonsense type of guy. He was an Israeli soldier who could probably end someone's life 700 different ways. Jerry Heller hired Mike Klein, and soon after, Suge and his boys stopped showing up to the Ruthless Records offices.
Well, Jerry called me because of the situation that he was having with Suge Knight.
Many say Mike Klein is the only man that Suge Knight ever feared.
You know, the security was a very small part of it. That was handled very quickly.
Mike Klein rarely does interviews, but he has been on me and Alonzo's show twice to share his story of his days as Ruthless Records head enforcer. Subscribe to NWA Stories with Lonzo to hear the full interviews. I'll put the links in the description. Mike Klein came on the show this past week to clear up a rumor that has hung over his head for years. Decades, ever since the untimely passing of Eazy-E. The rumors stayed around for so long that people started to believe it as fact.
There's people talking about me that don't know nothing about me. There's one guy on video saying that I opened the Ruthless Record in Canada and did all this stuff in Canada.
The rumor was that after Eazy passed, Mike Klein took over and moved Ruthless Records to Canada, taking a lot of unreleased material with him.
I never opened anything in Canada. As a matter of fact, we were interviewed by the FBI regarding that missing suitcase. Somebody took it. It's not me. And I really don't know what happened to it.
Mike has always stated that this is false, but a lot of people didn't believe him.
There's all these misconceptions that I went and opened some Ruthless Records in Canada and diverted all the phone calls to Canada. Never happened. It's a myth.
Mike Klein came on our show and he cleared up these rumors about Canada.
Oh, I saw that you sent me that the link the other day, and I sent it to my man Dusty. I said we definitely got to bring this to the show. This stems from the misinformation that's been spread on the internet for decades about Mike stealing Ruthless and moving it to Canada and trying to take over the label. And he found the actual the cause of what happened. And Dusty, could you read that for us, please?
Mike Klein, Ruthless's security director, who'd been brought on to battle Suge Knight when Death Row Records was threatening Eazy and poaching Ruthless artists. Klein had a background in Israeli security forces and claimed partial ownership of Ruthless. Here's some good background on Klein and Suge Knight. These competing claims caused tumult. Klein, attempting to assert control, fired Woods' rights lawyer Ron Sweeney, but when Klein showed up to Ruthless offices a few days later, a phalanx of security guards barred his entrance.
Let me stop you there. Nobody stopped me from getting in. The doors were locked.
Okay.
Okay? You know me better than that. Nobody stops me from going anywhere. But what happened was they had, I guess, Tamiko, somebody did put some Nation of Islam security there. But I went to the door. They changed the locks. The landlord came and said, until the court figures out who owns what, nobody goes in. And then the judge put in the receiver until everything was worked out through the legal system.
Okay. Go ahead, Dusty.
It all sparked an incredibly complicated probate case. While the case was being sorted, a judge ordered Ruthless shut down and the doors to its Woodland Hills offices locked. Into this mess waltzed a high school student named Raphael Gazarian. Raphael Gazarian was a 19-year-old prankster from Ottawa, Canada, who'd recently served a stint in juvenile detention and was giving high school another shot. After school, he and his friend Joshua Allen would hang out at Allen's Crash Pad, a small apartment that Allen rented using his brother's ID. They goofed around, smoked weed, and called psychic hotlines. Or obtaining record labels' phone numbers from the backs of CDs, they'd call and hack the label's answering machine messages. In those days of landlines and physical machines, it was simple. He said, we'd try 1-1, then 1-2, 1-3, etc. until we cracked the code. They changed Hootie and the Blowfish's labels message to something silly, then laughed their asses off until the next day when someone at the label changed it back. Ruthless Records was their first victim. This was the spring of 1995, only weeks after Eazy's death. And though they were big NWA fans, they had no idea about the chaos engulfing Ruthless. They changed Ruthless's message to say that the label had moved to Ottawa, Canada. Its new address? Their Crash Pad's address. Its new number? Their Crash Pad's number. This prank worked better than they could have possibly imagined. Because Ruthless's operations had been halted by the judge, the altered answering machine message stayed active for months. No one came in to change it because the label's doors were locked. And so, calls intended for Ruthless started going to Gazarian and Allen. When they answered, they impersonated Ruthless executives and in the process managed to take control of the label, making a small fortune and triggering an FBI case that remained unsolved for decades.
That's correct. And if you remember on our show, when you interviewed me, you guys brought this up and I said I had nothing to do with it. But on the internet, and for many years, people thought that I was involved and blamed me for it. But I don't lie and I don't need to steal anything. So it finally came out that I was correct, and these scam artists were the ones that did it that you are reading about.
So how did they make a small fortune? Selling records?
Well, no, what they were doing, Lonzo, they were telling people to send in tapes, demos, and charging them for it. So these poor individuals wanted to be discovered. They sent in this tape with, I don't know how much money that they asked for, but all these people sent these thousands of tapes with this money, and these people made a small fortune on scamming these people. And I mean, they had some scam going, but I'm just happy it's cleared up because for decades, I mean, for a long time, I was blamed for moving the offices to Canada, which was absurd.
Do you have any connection with Canada at all?
Yeah, the only connection I have with Canada is my wife is Canadian, but we live we live in the United States. She was born in Canada. That's about it.
Okay. All right. See?
And we go and visit once in a while Canada because it's a beautiful place. But that's as far as it.
You one of the lucky ones, Mike. You were able to get your name cleared.
Well, yeah, that's why I sent it to you, because
I appreciate it.
I think it came up in our conversations, and even on some of the comments, people say that I opened a place in Canada, I installed tapes, which is a bunch of BS.
Yeah, you're supposed to have you're supposed to have the unreleased Eazy tape. That's right.
Yeah, and that's a bunch of nonsense either, too.
Well, there you have it, folks. The link to the full article can be found in the description. Thank you all for tuning into the show. And before you head out, please make sure you hit that like button. And if this is your first time joining the channel and you like what you hear, please do hit that subscribe button. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.